So what happens when a grumpy, old-school war vet is forced to spend his days with a young, transgender skateboarder? Well, we're about to find out. Today we're diving into the powerful play All Aboard, and it's an incredible story about how sometimes our deepest wounds are the very things that end up connecting us.
You know, the whole story kicks off with a literal collision, a skateboard accident that smashes two strangers together. But the real impact, the one that truly shakes things up, is the collision of generations, of beliefs, and of two completely different ways of seeing the world.
So let's meet our two main characters. On one side, you've got Gus. He's an elderly Vietnam vet, totally guarded, haunted by his past, and absolutely set in his ways. And on the other side, we have Sam, a young trans skateboarder who's just trying to find his place in the world and fighting for his future. I mean, on the surface, they are polar opposites.
So how do these two even end up in the same room? Well, that skateboard accident I mentioned, Sam accidentally hits Gus. And the result? Sam gets assigned community service, working for Gus. Just like that, they're forced into Gus's apartment, this little sanctuary filled with his beloved model trains. And that's where everything really begins.
The tension is there from minute one. I mean, listen to this. Gus immediately goes for the classic generational complaint, right? He just sees Sam as another reckless kid. He has no idea who Sam really is, and with this one line, he builds a massive wall between them.
And that initial friction? Oh, it escalates fast. It quickly moves beyond just a simple age gap and gets into some really deep territory, deeply held beliefs about identity. And all of this leads to a huge confrontation.
The whole thing really boils over when Sam reveals that he's transgender, and Gus's reaction is just pure shock and confusion. You can tell it's completely rooted in the world he grew up in. To him, it's just nonsense, something that doesn't compute, something he sees as totally unnatural.
But Sam? He doesn't back down for a second. His response is so powerful, so immediate, and it's not just an argument. He's flat out refusing to be put on trial for who he is. He's demanding the right to simply exist, no justification needed. At this point, the battle lines are clearly drawn.
So right when it feels like this gap between them is just too big to ever cross, the story takes a fascinating turn. They find a bridge, but it's a bridge built out of something really tough, pain. And this is where all that anger and animosity starts to melt away, replaced by this fragile, new kind of understanding. And here's why. Gus lets his guard down completely. He confesses this deep, dark trauma that he's been carrying around for decades from his time in Vietnam. And in that moment, he's not a grumpy old man anymore. You see a broken person, and you finally understand where all his bitterness comes from.
And Sam, he hears that. He gets it. And he shares his own deep wound, the trauma of being rejected by his own family. Now, his pain comes from a totally different kind of war, but that feeling of being a stranger, of causing pain to people you love, that's something Gus can finally begin to understand.
And that's the core realization, isn't it? As Gus himself says later, pain is pain, struggle is struggle. It doesn't matter if it's from a battlefield halfway across the world or from your own family's living room. Suffering is a universal language, and for the very first time, they're speaking it together.
So where do they go from here? Well, they start building something together, literally. Gus's model train set, this thing that's been his passion his whole life, it becomes the actual physical space where they can start to rebuild their connection and create a new world just for them.
And this train set is so much more than just a hobby. It's sanctuary. It's a little miniature world where all the chaos and pain of their real lives can just fade into the background. It's where they share their stories and carefully, piece by tiny piece, build a real friendship.
And you can actually see their friendship grow through these stages. It starts super simple, just dusting the collection together. But that opens the door for them to start sharing their hidden truths. From there, they're actually collaborating, restoring the whole layout. And that turns into something even bigger, creating a legacy, something that's going to mean something long after they're gone.
Gus actually says this to Sam, and it just captures the whole transformation perfectly. Sam wasn't just fixing up old model trains. He was restoring Gus's connection to the world, to his own memories, to life itself. It's beautiful.
But of course, every journey has to come to an end. This new lease on life leads them to the play's really bittersweet conclusion. Like any train ride, this one has a final station. Their time together is nearing its end, but it's also the start of something new, a legacy.
And then the emotional stakes get cranked all the way up. Gus reveals he's dying. He has stage 4 cancer. And just like that, you realize their time together is limited.
Every moment, every piece of track they lay suddenly becomes infinitely more precious.
In the end, Gus basically passes the torch to Sam, and he doesn't just leave him the trains, no, he leaves him his conductor's hat, a symbol of taking over. He leaves him the deed to the house, giving him a place to finally call home. He leaves him his life's work, and, maybe most important of all, a brand new purpose.
This is Gus's final piece of wisdom, and really, it's the central theme of the whole story. The destination, the end of the line, that's coming for all of us. But what really matters, what gives life its beauty, are the people you share the ride with.
And that's really the final stop for this explainer. All Aboard is just such a powerful reminder that we can find connection in the most unlikely places, and that empathy can bridge any gap, no matter how wide it seems. It leaves us with a pretty essential question, right? In the end, what journey could possibly matter more than the one we take with each other?